Happy Tuesday.
Yes.
Yes, we made it. October is here. Q4 has begun.
Yes, it has. Got here fast.
And it got here way too fast. So today we're going to talk about UX and AI and the beautiful partnership that exists when you consider your UX team's efforts and capabilities in the context of identifying where and how to consider AI, and then in that whole design and experience perspective and how your users consume AI, where you have to focus your efforts in order to get it right. Because we see that, we all know that everyone's incorporating and implementing AI in their solutions. Some are getting it right,
Yeah.
some are not getting it right. And I think that a lot of the attention has gone to the large language models and, bias in the data and that sort of thing, but less of a focus on consumption. And what we are concerned about is consumption of that data. And what does that mean in terms of how you actually design things on the glass, or, however your user
We're
interacts
behind
with
it.
that, or behind it, and how does your user interact with that effectively. A lot of that is based on how it's implemented and designed from a user standpoint.
Yes. And I know, we talk a lot about, or you hear a lot about the worry with a lot of jobs, but UXers
Mhm.
as well being kind of knocked out, because of this movement to AI. I really,
Mhm.
don't think, that's going to be the case. I think it's an adjustment of how we start looking at things in those normal research activities we do. We're doing the task analysis, we're doing the journeys. Well, now you need to put that AI lens on. Where are their repetitive tasks? Where are their big pain
Mhm.
points and complexities? Where, before you might think of making the screen easier, now you might think of, okay, what do we know where AI can come into play? Um,
Mhm.
Anyhow, so I think that's a little bit of an adjustment from where we've been, but there's still a huge need for the UX people to be part of those teams and looking at those opportunities.
Absolutely. And there's still a place in driving requirements up front. So we're going to cover our three-step where, what, and how process. So it's about where does that AI fit within the consumption, or users' consumption within their workflows or tasks? What, in terms of where does that value come in?
Mhm.
So, what are the things that need to be implemented via AI? And then how? How do you ensure that you create an experience that is supportive of your user, but also avoids harm?
Right.
So, let's jump into that first one. And I think it goes back to what we always talk about, which is you got to do that discovery work and think about users from the standpoint of their journey, their context. And I think one way to really effectively perform this activity is to create your journey map and put those post-it notes in those different areas along that journey where you see the opportunity to bake in some AI support for your user.
Yes, absolutely. So where, sorry, in that journey are we seeing users get stuck? Usability testing. Where are you seeing their complexities that you could potentially take away and automate, for instance, or
Mhm.
have AI provide support that would help with complex decisions, that sort of
Mhm.
thing. Where do you know you have data about? Oh, sorry, did I jump ahead? Can you?
No, not at all. Keep it going.
Yeah, because you usually have a lot of data, even from a user perspective, for some applications. So, once you've kind of built up that understanding from a data perspective, where can the AI maybe even, again, not saying take away humans, is almost the human AI working together. Where
Mhm.
can you use data you have? Like I know with invoicing when we were doing AI machine learning. There were organizations you could see how they were kind of itemizing things on an invoice depending on
Mhm.
different characteristics of what the case they were invoicing. So over time, you could automate that, and then maybe the human's just there to eyeball it. Again, you know, make sure you're correct. I know you'll go to the trust issue, but start looking at where are people saying no, wrong, and that becomes more of your data to adjust that algorithm or that AI model.
Yeah, and when you talk about
Mhm.
eyeballing, I think you can take it a step further and say approval. So not
Yeah.
only am I looking my journey, and then if you've incorporated some level of decision support or efficiency gain, let me not only eyeball that data, but then I can actually
Mm.
go through the process of approvals. But I
Yes.
didn't do all that heavy lifting to get all of that data together for that decision. And so there is that benefit of now the AI is helping me in the
Mhm.
context of my workflow and really understands where I need help,
Right.
where I need to not make mistakes, or where you can give me some time back. That's the whole reason why I'm using technology.
Right. Yeah. Let me work with those clients instead of spending all day, itemizing an
Right.
invoice. Kind of automate that. Yep.
Yes, yes. And when we think about some of the projects that been involved in, it's been about looking at standard operating procedures or looking at capturing journeys or putting the two of those together, but then looking at those opportunities to say, where are you spending too much time
Yes.
capturing or gathering data that the system can actually summarize for you so that you can jump to making a better decision and making a more quick decision rather than having to, go through the exhaustive effort of listening to, a caller or a member on the phone or having to crawl through notes or documents. How can you help make that easier for me? But the key to that is to ensure that you don't box the user out in those places where they still need to
Yep.
do those things. You need to do some level of validation that AI is actually going to be helpful and not require the user to look at the AI summary or to use what decision support information the AI has provided and then still have to go back and do some level of manual validation
Mhm.
that, oh, it captured what I actually needed, that kind of thing.
Right, right. And let the
And
AI be transparent about why it's doing what it's doing,
absolutely.
keeping that awareness of, what's going on so that that human needs to jump in the loop really quick. And now I'm talking about
Mhm.
really complex or critical systems. They're able to do so and not take, a team of experts to figure out
Mhm.
why certain things happen. So that
Mhm.
transparency is really important.
Absolutely. And when you think
Mm.
about the other day, I was speaking to a friend, and we were looking at she had shared some music online on YouTube that was AI generated, and we had a conversation back and forth about how interesting it was that some people were saying, blah, I don't like this. You can have it. But other people that knew it was AI generated, had a perspective on, okay, I know that this is not a real musician or artist. I know that it came from AI, and they were more open to the idea.
Mhm.
And when you look at that transparency, that's to reduce harm and to cultivate that trust around the consumer that, hey, this is not something that was created by a famous artist. It was generated via AI. And so your ability to look at it from a critical lens, but to be, realistic around the fact that, okay, if I hear flaws or it doesn't, do what it's in terms of like tempo and lyrics or whatever, you now know that you can trust the fact that it is not human generated and it
Right.
will have those errors in it. And so that's kind of where we're going in terms of that where, what, and how is
Yes.
that in that how you want to make sure that you do your due diligence to make sure that your user's not deceived or confused and that sort of thing, and
Yeah.
how they consume and what they're consuming and how they consume it.
Right, and make sure to eliminate, and I know we won't harp on this because we have those biases. Make sure, your algorithms don't have built-in biases. That's all a part of
Mhm.
cultivating that trust. Again, we've seen, in the last year how trust has kind of eroded because the algorithms were off, or whether
Mhm.
intentional or unintentional.
That's
But
right.
it really does impact the trust and the use of those systems.
That's right. Or the information that's
Mhm.
presented is just not what you're looking for, and then it's kind of
Yep.
like, okay, let me put this down, because it's not helpful in any
Right.
way. And so when you think about, again, and to recap what we've talked about, it's that where, what, and how. So you gotta map out the user's journey,
Yes.
put those little post-it notes in those spots where you think that there's an opportunity to explore AI and its value. Like you said, build in decision support, efficiency gains. So that's your what. And then you can identify them, like you're saying, in that way of like, what are they going to do for our user?
Right. And then the collaboration component, right? Get with those data
Mhm.
scientists, get with those engineers. UX should have a
Mhm.
seat at the table, figure out what you have and what you don't have that you might need as
Yeah.
part of those requirements. So
Yes. And what we didn't include in the where, what, and how was to validate. Make sure you
validate.
do some level of user testing and walk through that experience and make sure that where you've baked in those concepts, and you might do a little bit of, that wizard, or like cooking show where you show where the AI is going to help the user, and in what way. If you don't have it implemented yet, in other words,
Yep.
at least show them where in that workflow it's doing those things, so that you can at least get some feedback before you throw it out there.
Yep.
Because I mean, we've both seen instances, or even those of you listening have seen instances where it doesn't quite seem like the it was well thought out in terms of where to
Yeah.
implement and
Right.
how to implement AI.
Yep.
So again, thank you for listening. The where, what, and how of incorporating AI in an effective way. UX teams, or if you have UXers on your team, um, you definitely have an opportunity to weigh in, and to make sure that things are done right.
Yep.
All right.
Good
Well, that's
question.
it for today. Yes, that was short and sweet. Thank you for joining us. If you have any topics that you'd like to hear, that we discuss, or you have any questions for us, please reach out.